So my name is Matt Schnarr, and I am the Expansion and Partnerships Manager with the Campus Kitchens Project here in DC. And in this presentation, you're going to hear a lot about this amazing partnership that we've formed with ELCA World Hunger, which has created this great grant opportunity that's going to be available to you all. So before I let Ryan, coming from ELCA World Hunger, speak a little bit more about the partnership, I just wanted to give you all a quick rundown of what we're going to cover today. So we're going to start by sharing a bit about what the Campus Kitchens Project is and what we do nationally. I'll go into the process of how we bring a campus kitchen to each school, and we'll highlight the different types of support that need to be fostered to really make this program really strong and sustainable on a campus. Then I'm going to go over the specifics of the grant and that application, and also go over just the timeline and requirements for this grant opportunity. And then lastly, we're going to hear from some representatives or from some currently run campus kitchens that work really closely with their ELCA campus or their campus ministry office, and to learn a little bit more from the ground about the value of this type of partnership and this type of program. And then obviously we'll conclude with plenty of time for Q&A and give you some great next steps of how to move forward with this process. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over right now to Ryan to talk a bit about kind of how this partnership came to be.
Thank you, Matt, and thank you all for being part of this call and for your interest in learning more about this opportunity. If you're not familiar with ELCA World Hunger, ELCA World Hunger is the collective response of the ELCA to hunger and poverty around the world and here in the U.S. We support programs in 50 countries, including the United States, and primarily in 5 areas: relief, education, advocacy, community organizing, and sustainable development. Those include everything from food pantries to community meal programs to gardens to job training programs and hospitals in other countries. My role as the Director of Hunger Education is to develop resources and programs to help the church and communities learn more about hunger and poverty and effective responses to both. But more broadly, it's to equip people to think globally and to act locally in addressing the root causes of hunger. It's still a partnership with Campus Kitchens. This is something that's fairly new for the ELCA, or for ELCA World Hunger, I should say. But in conversations over the last year with folks from the Campus Kitchens Project, it became very clear that many of our priorities and values as ELCA World Hunger coincide with the priorities and values of CKP, including the belief that ending hunger requires more than just relief efforts, the importance of building relationships within communities, and really the importance of developing leaders as sources of innovation and change. We also recognize that there's a lot of really great things happening on campuses, especially in relationship to hunger, and ELCA World Hunger has the means and the desire to support these, financially, logistically, and in other ways. So I think you could suffice to say that the Campus Kitchen Project's vision coincides with ours, and their model has really proven effective in both developing student leadership and addressing hunger and malnutrition in local communities in ways that we're really eager and happy to support. We see this primarily as a mutually beneficial partnership. As I said, this is something that's fairly new to us. Most of our partners are faith-based partners. But I think that this offers benefits to both organizations and to campuses that are pretty clear. So clearly from the ELCA World Hunger side, in addition to funding through this grant program, we bring connection to over 380 programs in the U.S. that are supported by ELCA World Hunger. Some of these are congregations, others are community partners like Second Harvest Food Banks, Meals on Wheels, and the like. And of course, we have our Lutheran social service partners as well, that many of you are probably familiar with. And I think one of the things that we're bringing to this partnership as well is a connection to other modes of action. We found, especially with young adults and especially on campuses, that advocacy is really a high value, and that's something that we've been doing for quite some time on the state, national, and international level. Our hope with this grant program and with this partnership, first of all, is just to support the really great anti-hunger work that's happening on campuses, and to be present in a way that we can really learn from it. More than that, we hope to provide an opportunity to bolster the vision of the church as a serving and justice-seeking presence on campuses and in the community in ways that are already happening on campuses. And we do hope to work together with campuses to develop sites where other people within the church can come to learn more about hunger. And so I think there's that mutual benefit is pretty clear. We can increase the awareness and attention to hunger within the church. Schools can provide an outlet for continued development of student leadership through a campus kitchen. They can showcase opportunities available to potential students, and we can also help support the kitchen by linking up with volunteers and community partners and things like that. So I think there's a lot of value to this partnership for us, and we're really eager to see it be successful. So thank you very much for being on this first call about it.
Great, thanks, Ryan. So I, throughout this, as I kind of get going here, if you have questions, the best way probably to do that if it's before the end of this webinar is to type them in that chat box so I can at least address them when we get to that point, or if it's pertinent, I can address them right then. So if you have questions, be sure to type them right into the chat box for us. That's probably the best way to do it, but if not, I think we'll go ahead and get started here. There we go. All right, so I think it's really important to really start with kind of the big picture about what Campus Kitchen is really about. So we're going to touch on each of the basic components of what a Campus Kitchen is and how it really came to be. And so I think within that, it's really good to set some context. We'll start with really the issues that led to the idea and the creation of the Campus Kitchens project over almost 13 years ago. So obviously, hunger and food waste are the key issues here that we're focusing on, and it's something that's, I think, seen in almost every community. Though it might look very different depending on where you live, have different faces. It's probably most definitely something that your community faces, and I'm sure it's probably something that you probably heard similar facts that you're seeing on the screen now. That 1 in 6 Americans or 1 in 4 children don't know where their next meal is coming from, which adds up to about 50 million Americans living in food insecure households. And at the very same time, kind of the other side of that coin is about 40% of all food produced in the U.S. is wasted each year, which is costing us billions and billions of dollars in wasted resources. So another factor that's kind of in the mix right now is across the country, academic institutions, the idea of service is something that's really becoming, is really at the forefront of many academic institutions. So we're seeing a generation of young adults that really are the most engaged in service that have ever existed. We're about 90%, 90+% of incoming college freshmen have experienced or engaged in community service prior to college and really understand its importance. And at the same time, really just want to see an impact of what they do. And so I think at the same time, this similar percentage of universities and institutions have something about civic engagement or community engagement as part of their mission. So I think this is something that really lines up naturally for the needs of the students and also for the needs of the institution itself. Another kind of factor in the mix here when all this was getting started was the idea of untapped resources. I guess I hopped one there. So across the country, there's over 4,000 colleges and universities that exist, and on every campus, they have nearly all of them have the following, which would be an on-campus kitchen space that's not being fully utilized, whether that be in their cafeteria or somewhere else on campus. Various quantities of surplus food, whether that be from their dining halls or other places on campus or in the community that is contributing to that 40% waste that we talked about just a second ago. They also have active and engaged students that are interested in getting real-life kind of marketable skills and experiences during college that extend beyond just the classroom. And then finally, obviously, every school is centered in a community. With that community is the one that best understands their needs of what they really need to really thrive. So kind of putting all of those together is how the Campus Kitchens project was born. So with that national food security need and that need of hunger, combined with these active and engaged students, combined with these untapped resources that are found on most campuses, that's where the Campus Kitchen project and that idea was born. So meeting needs by utilizing excess is a really simple idea that we think just really makes sense. And here at Campus Kitchens project, we found really the most effective and impactful way to make that happen on a campus. So those that founded the Campus Kitchens project decided when they put all these pieces together, that student leaders would be able to recover food that would otherwise have gone to waste, again, whether from their dining halls on campus, from off-campus restaurants, supermarkets, farms, even farmers markets. And then they're able to put those university or college dining halls or other kitchen space to use on after hours to prepare balanced and nutritious meals. Whether they're just reheating prepared food or maybe repurposing or even scratch cooking, depending on the type of donations that they might receive. Students are then taking those meals and delivering those meals to those that are struggling in the community with food insecurity. We work with a variety of agencies across the board, whether that be homeless shelters, after-school programs, low-income housing facilities, and even individual home deliveries. Again, kind of depending on the need in every community. And I'll talk a bit more about how we really assess the need in every unique need in every community. So let's look a bit, or take a look at what we do kind of day to day just by the numbers. So last year, in 42 different campuses across the country, again, dining services designated unused kitchen space or nearby kitchen space that can be shared and used, and our student leaders contributed we had almost 20,000 student volunteers from across the country in all of our campus kitchens, which dedicated nearly 75,000 hours of service, whether that be creating and delivering meals as volunteers or guiding the program as members of the leadership team, which we'll talk a little bit more about in just a moment. Those students took their recovered food from dining halls, food banks, grocery stores, farms, farmers markets, and then stored that on their on-campus kitchen. And last year alone, our schools recovered over 900,000 pounds of food, all of which would have otherwise gone to waste if it wasn't for our students in our campus kitchens, which is pretty remarkable. And with that food, the students took part in cooking shifts multiple times a week to prepare and repackage the donated food into balanced meals. And again, last year alone, our schools and our students were able to prepare over 270,000 meals that were then delivered to a variety of community partners. So we, again, work with shelters and after-school programs and housing complexes, and we've and last year alone has fed almost 9,000 clients, individual clients, at over 300 different agencies, and all of this adding over almost $1 million in economic value back into the communities that we're serving, because we're really allowing the agencies that we work with to focus their time and their efforts and their money on their mission, which is really empowering their clients. So we get to take care of the meal part, which is a great benefit to all those that we work with. So you can see there really quickly, just by the numbers, the impact that we're having across the country each day, and it's pretty immense. But again, what we really believe here with Campus Kitchens is not just about the meals and the numbers. We realize, and we always say, that we're never going to feed our way out of hunger, and food is really not going to be the only answer to this problem. So with Campus Kitchens, we encourage all of our students to really think about what we call using their food as a tool to kind of get at those deeper underlying issues of what are keeping people hungry in their community. Again, which has nothing to do with actually needing just food. So there are underlying root causes to hunger that need to be addressed along with meeting those immediate needs with food. So what we really are trying to do is again, use that food as a stepping stone or as a first point of action to meet that immediate need, but then we really want to encourage all of our campus kitchens to go beyond that meal, to do more than just serve meals, to kind of get at some of those root causes of hunger. And what that looks like on the ground is, and just in terms of examples of that, is students are creating nutrition education programming for their clients, whether that be working with youth, whether working with older adults or families to how to shop and cook on a budget, how to work within the capacity of a community garden, to use that as kind of an educational platform for community members to learn about where their food's coming from and how to eat healthy. We have some that programs that may have nothing to do with food, where we're just working with youth. We want to do mentoring and tutoring with the clients that we're serving meals to. We might be working with older adults, and we want to do some sort of health and wellness or some sort of activity programming that can really contribute to kind of the issues with older adults, which will have to do with anti-isolation or issues with transportation or mobilization. Some of our campus kitchens work with getting folks eligible for SNAP benefits or other government benefits. Some might be convening certain populations to do weekly community dinners that bring in lots of other resources, not only food, but also connecting other folks, maybe it's a homeless or veteran population, to the other resources that they might need in their community. So again, this idea, the real power, at least especially in my opinion, of the campus kitchen is using that food and using those meals, which is great in and of itself, but kind of taking that extra step to go beyond the meal to really address some of these root causes of hunger and poverty in the communities that we're serving. Kind of the third, kind of natural byproduct turned focus of what we do with Campus Kitchens is the idea of student leadership development. So since students are really, in essence, running a nonprofit on their campus when they're working with a Campus Kitchen, the type of skills and the things that they're gaining are not only applicable for when they're working in their various coursework on campus in terms of a great service learning collaborative, and that happens in so many different ways across campus. It's also a great way to just be able to receive really marketable and tangible skills for their future careers. Regardless of what their career path may be, we found that the students that work with the Campus Kitchen find that they've acquired skills that will help them move forward with whatever career they take, and they're definitely going to be much more aware of their community and of their community needs as they move forward after college. So this is definitely something that we want to not take lightly. It's something that we think is an amazing, again, byproduct of what we do and of what our students do and what they gain from working with the Campus Kitchen at their school. So that's just, again, a general overview of kind of what we do from a national standpoint. But I want to spend quite a bit of time for this info session or this webinar talking about how to make this really happen on a campus. As Ryan has hinted to or spoke about, the partnership with ELCA World Hunger, I think, is really conducive for making this happen really easily. It has a lot of really great additional benefits that make kind of really prime a school that is working with an ELCA school or a school that's working with their Lutheran campus ministry. I think there's a lot of ways to make this really seamless and really easy to bring to a campus because of that. So I want to talk a bit about kind of what are the things that need to be in place on a campus, what type of support do we need, and what are those steps to make this, turn this into a reality at every campus, especially under under the veil of ELCA and how this grant really can contribute to that. So as you can see, there are four major components of starting a Campus Kitchen, or four groups that really need to be in support. That's obviously general school support, student support, dining support, and then community support. And obviously those are pretty broad, but I'm going to go into each of those and kind of what that looks like on an individual campus, and again through also with working with ELCA World Hunger, because there's so many ways that ELCA World Hunger can also contribute to each of these categories of support. So let's start by talking just about school support in general. So every Campus Kitchen, at the very least, has what we call a sponsoring office, which basically is just the place for the Campus Kitchen to really call home on campus. We've seen that really to provide a really sustainable and stable program, we need to have the Campus Kitchen really be part of the campus and not just some floating entity of a couple students that had this idea and wanted to go with it. However great the idea may be, it's great to have it be really tied directly to the university itself, not only obviously for the longevity of the program, but just also for the strength and growth potential of the program too, to have it really be able to be connected on campus. So that sponsoring office, obviously, and maybe for many of you, might fall within the campus ministry office. I think that's, again, a great place for the Campus Kitchen to find its home. I'm going to actually go ahead and mute everyone right there. There we go. Again, but I will also say that even for those that are on this call that are working in the campus ministry office, there's many other places that a Campus Kitchen might find its quote-unquote sponsor, with you all still being a great support. So for that, many Campus Kitchens work within their Office of Service, or maybe Service Learning, or perhaps Civic Engagement, but also might even work within an academic department, such as social work, or nutrition, culinary arts. It really, those possibilities are really endless, and they're really need to be specific to your school's needs and your school's, the assets that they're bringing. So we're really open to whatever makes the most sense for your school. But there is a natural kind of alignment with working with campus ministry offices, especially through this grant, and they will have to be associated with it to some extent and be able to support it in some extent. But there definitely is a way to connect lots of different departments and lots of different staff and faculty and other folks on campus within the Campus Kitchen. You know, again, some schools start their program through a class that's already, maybe a class that's, and use that professor as their sponsor. And, you know, this is really where we're going to need to start to really find that group or that person or that department or that can kind of support the Campus Kitchen as in that kind of sponsor or advisory role. Again, I think there's lots of ways to be flexible with this and lots of ways to figure out, you know, how to make this work within how, you know, your campus dynamic and your campus environment, especially with in relation to your campus ministry office or whatever that may be. But we've just, in conversations we've had with Ryan and I and Don and I, we've seen that there's lots of different ways that this might work really well and really nicely with existing, you know, departments and campus ministry offices that are on campus. So beyond that, beyond just the sponsor, we also really want to have great support and, you know, a variety of support from other staff and administrative support on campus. Again, talking with, you know, ideally talking with a president or a provost or a dean of students, and they obviously won't be the sponsoring role, but they will be there to support the program at large and help with, again, kind of the general sustainability of the program. The more it's kind of ingrained and embedded into the university or the school itself, the better that the program really can be. So in these beginning phases, obviously pinpointing that one office or one department that's going to be that sponsor, but then also really reaching out to, you know, any and all folks on campus from every level that might be interested in supporting to some degree, I think is really an important kind of first step. We're going to talk just a little bit now, moving on to talking about the student support. Obviously, students are really at the core of every Campus Kitchen, and they hold a variety of roles within it. Each Campus Kitchen must first have a really strong student leadership team, which consists of anywhere from 5 to 10 students that are really taking the lead in all the decisions and all the operations that the Campus Kitchen does. The leadership team is really not only important when you're planning your Campus Kitchen, but also obviously once the kitchen is up and operating. So a leadership team, again, really guides the Campus Kitchen and provides that structure and support on campus. I get that sponsoring office and that staff sponsor are obviously are very important too, but it's the students that really are the driving force and really are the ones that are spending the bulk of their time doing what the Campus Kitchen does with the support of their sponsoring office. A leadership team can come from a variety of places. It can come from, again, a specific class. Maybe a department pulls different folks. Maybe it's an existing club or organization. Maybe it's, you know, students that are just naturally working with your campus ministry or working with other organizations within that. It could also be just, you know, recruiting, you know, a variety of students from the general student body. There's really no better way to do that or preferred way, as long as there's a really dedicated group of students that have committed to this Campus Kitchen that are on your campus. Clearly, students also are that volunteer base that go beyond just the leadership team. Again, the leadership team is really there to make sure everything is running smoothly, but a big component of that is also having a really strong general volunteer base on campus. So, you know, that's the physical manpower of how to run their daily operations that they do. So, you know, again, working with you know, existing clubs and organizations, working with, you know, other groups that you work with through your campus ministry or through ELCA that might have students that would be interested in working in a variety of capacities with the Campus Kitchen. So, you know, the idea here really is to build student leaders through this process of, you know, bringing in young leaders in the beginning and have them maybe just be volunteers one time, but then slowly as they go through their college experience, they take on more leadership roles. Like they might run a food recovery shift, and then they might eventually, you know, become a part of the leadership team, and then eventually, you know, be the student coordinator. And again, that's really the best way and the way that students are getting this great leadership, these leadership opportunities, this leadership experience through their Campus Kitchen. Talk a little bit more about kind of the leadership structures of a typical Campus Kitchen, because it really does vary. And so it kind of runs the spectrum from anywhere from, on one end of the spectrum, we have the fully what we call student-run Campus Kitchen, which again, even if it's quote-unquote student-run, it's still going to have that staff sponsor, that sponsoring office really sitting in that advisory role. Again, that staff person really isn't dedicating a lot of their time on a day-to-day to the campus kitchen, but they're there as a connecting point to the university or to the college. But the student leadership team is the one that really takes the lead in all of these. This might be great for a smaller school or just starting out. Kind of in the middle, and where I'd say a lot of our campus kitchens fall is kind of with this part-time staff. And I use the word staff, I guess, kind of lightly in the sense that staff could be, again, that sponsoring office staff, maybe part of their time or part of their job or their role becomes helping with the campus kitchen and helping run even more intimately with the leadership team. There also might be, many of our campus kitchens work with AmeriCorps programs and get AmeriCorps Vistas or other year of service staff to help kind of oversee the leadership team and help run the campus kitchen. We've also seen some graduate assistantships work really nicely for kind of as a part-time position and making sure that, and helping the campus kitchen kind of grow. Obviously there, when you have a little more staff support, the students are still a really strong piece within that, but the ability to kind of grow and the program even more quickly, it becomes much easier with a part-time staff. The full-time staff is by no means necessary, but what we've seen is that many of our campus kitchens, especially some that have been around for some time, the institution itself, or the college, has seen the value so much of the program that they decided to institutionalize a position to really help grow and sustain the campus kitchen on that school's campus. So again, I'm not saying that you have to have a full-time staff be a part of that, but it really is, obviously you can see the benefits of being able to have someone that's dedicating really their full time to assisting the student leadership team, to helping find new partners, and to helping really grow the program in so many different ways. That's just a little bit about, kind of in general, the different types of leadership structures that a campus kitchen can find. But there's lots of different ways and lots of flexibility with what that can look like. And again, that's something that, if there's interest on campus, we can really kind of figure out as we work together what makes the most sense for that type of leadership. All right, we're going to move onward to dining support. So dining services, and their support is obviously another crucial component of a campus kitchen in this whole process. So generally speaking, dining services provides a few key things for a campus kitchen, although there are always exceptions and ways to kind of make things work if they don't fall exactly into this structure. But obviously, they're in an ideal setting letting our students in the campus kitchen use their idle kitchen space on campus. Whether that be in their dining hall, maybe on non-peak hours, or maybe there's another small kitchen on campus where they're able to utilize that space not only for storage of food, but also for preparing or packaging of the meals that they're creating. Dining services obviously also is providing ideally with donated leftover food from their meal service. That's either used as is if it's prepared product, like a casserole or a lasagna, or maybe combined with other produce or other product that the campus kitchen is receiving. So it might be some kind of raw product or things, other vegetables or things that could be combined with other donations to, again, create that ideal balanced meal. Dining service staff also oftentimes acts kind of as the kitchen safety support when students need guidance or have questions. Obviously, we train our student leaders, and I'll talk a bit more about this in just a moment, on kitchen safety procedures and protocols, but having dining involved even to a small degree is still really helpful, and oftentimes just happens naturally with them being in the kitchen space. So something that always comes up and is definitely a big part of this planning process is, talking a bit about liability and what that looks like, and making sure that everyone's on the same page and is clear about what laws are already in place, what we do to comply with those laws, and how that looks on a specific campus. So something I think it's really important to know and to have everyone, from students to staff to dining, to really make sure everyone understands is the national legislation that's in place that allows us to use donated food to feed those in our community. And what that's called is the Bill Emerson Good Samaritan Food Donation Act. So it's national legislation that's been in place since 1996, which what it does is protects all those individuals, including universities and colleges, who donate leftover food in quote-unquote good faith to those needing assistance in their community. And so what that means and how we really ensure that we're acting in good faith, and what good faith really means is basically anything besides just gross negligence when dealing with food product. But how we ensure from a campus kitchen aspect or standpoint how we're acting in good faith is that we train all of our campus kitchens in a comprehensive food safety and tracking paperwork system, which sounds maybe a bit daunting, but it's much more simple than it sounds, but basically is part of how a campus kitchen can know that they're complying with proper food safety and food handling protocols and laws. And so this is part of a system called HACCP, which is Hazard Analysis Critical Control Points, which basically is a paperwork system that you'll be able to track the temperature and location and type of food all the way through the process of when you get it in through the door, through the cooking or repackaging process, and out the door through delivery. And so it's just basically a way of showing that that you all at every individual campus are doing things as safely as possible and making sure that you are handling your food in good faith. So we train from a national aspect, our national organization will come and do trainings on this paperwork system. It's something that, again, it's not quite as scary as I'm thinking maybe I'm making it sound, but it's something that is really important and integral to making sure that what you're doing it well. Because obviously we're dealing with populations that are susceptible populations, typically maybe youth or older adults, that we need to make sure that we're handling this food with care and that we're complying with legislation that is in place. So beyond being trained on the HACCP paperwork, we also require that student leaders that are leading the various cooking shifts and delivery shifts, that they be ServSafe certified. And what that is, that's the same kitchen safety certification that any and all restaurant or dining service staff must get. It's an online certification. It's like a simple online exam, which I'll explain a little bit more. But basically, that certification gives the student leaders the general and basic knowledge of proper food handling and food safety, so they can then lead the various volunteers and other students that are coming in to work with their campus kitchen. And last but not least, just looking at kind of the things that we do are kind of beyond industry standards, best practices, and we've seen over our now 13 years of operating, there's not been a single issue or instance with any campus kitchen regarding client food safety, and we really chalked it up to the amount of the emphasis and the amount of time that we put in to making sure that our students in our schools really understand the importance of this. And that's something that obviously every school would want us to be cognizant and aware of as well. So to talk a little bit more just about the logistics from a dining standpoint, and I've talked a bit about this already, but we're obviously open for a campus kitchen to use other types of kitchen spaces that aren't maybe your dining hall or might not be even on campus. And one thing where we've talked through this ELCA World Hunger Partnership is that maybe some campus ministry offices or spaces have their own kitchens. That might be a great space, one that isn't used as much as a dining hall and will be easier to utilize and store food. So using a space that's already available for you all is something we definitely would want to see happen. Or perhaps you have a great partnership with a local church, maybe on or right near campus, that has a great kitchen space that's not being used during the week. We have a handful of campus kitchens that have found great partnerships with off-site kitchens, either with local churches or maybe local organizations or agencies that they're already working with, that it just makes even more sense to kind of have everything right there. So again, the basic idea here is we want to utilize any existing asset, whether that be on campus or off. So I think there's a lot of flexibility and there should be some cool partnerships, especially through working with the LCA, to have them even help connect you all with maybe a local church that would have a space, or working with the campus ministry that has a space on campus to utilize for storage and meal prep. And also remembering that a typical campus kitchen is receiving a variety of donations, so not only from their on-campus dining halls, but also from a variety of other on-campus vendors and like catering or other restaurants that are on campus, but also trying to partner with local restaurants or supermarkets and food banks and farms to really have the most diverse type of product possible, so you're able to create a really balanced meal. We really see that while there is great value in being able to donate whatever there is directly from your dining hall to a shelter, and that's that's wonderful, but there's some organizations and some agencies that really might value having a balanced and nutritious meal over just having whatever leftovers might be there. So we really try, and I'd say majority, if not all of our campus kitchens to some extent are being able to create and deliver these meals because they have a variety of donors throughout the community. And that maybe that's something you work up to, but it's definitely the goal and something we see has a lot of value over just, again, kind of being able to take whatever there might be, and we don't really know if that could be helpful or hurtful in some scenarios with various community agencies. So that really is the goal, is to work with a variety of donors. All right, so let's look at kind of the final pillar here, which is just community, not just, it is community support. And obviously, and we really pride ourselves on being really a community-focused program. It's a campus-based program, but it's really community-focused. So every campus kitchen, we want to really fully assess their community and identify, the existing assets as well as the needs in their community. We want you to pick and identify community partners to deliver your meals to that may or may not be able to get access to other types of meal programs that you might already have in your community. A campus kitchen is really set up to have some unique impact in being able to get into some of those cracks where people can sometimes fall or people are missed. So because a campus kitchen can handle or work with smaller populations of folks and even go meet them where they're at and be able to do deliveries to individuals or or smaller agencies that may not be able to work with, again, some of those larger feeding programs. So it's really important, I think, to assess what are the needs in your community at large, but where are the gaps in services? Where are people falling into those cracks or into those gaps? And then also assessing, what can the community, how can this be a really mutually beneficial relationship with the campus kitchen? It's not just about what we can give, but how can the community contribute? And I think, again, with this ELCA World Hunger Partnership, that really is where our goals, again, overlap so well, in that really making this a community program that is allowing the university at large to break down some of those walls that maybe exist. Maybe figuratively or literally, we've seen so many programs or so many schools that have campus kitchens be able to kind of really address the issue of town and gown, and be able to start to break down, again, those walls that are, and those stereotypes that fall between the campus and then those that they serve in the community. So it's much more than just a typical service program that might be just a one-time kind of in and out kind of action, or rather the campus kitchen is something that's really committed, and it's a recurring faith in the community, and allows the university to have, the school itself to have more presence in the community, which I think is something that a lot of schools are really looking to do. And this is really a proven method and proven ability to do this. All right, so that is a bit about kind of the beginning steps of what that looks like to bring a campus kitchen to your campus. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the tools that we offer to kind of make that, turn kind of that theory into reality, because obviously you guys realize there's a lot of logistics that go into that. But again, the beginning steps of this are really, and this ties nicely into this grant, because the way to apply for this grant is to really show us that you have the initial support of each of those groups. And so I think that's a great segue for me to kind of just talk about the grant application and the timeline here. So the application deadline, you have until May 1st to submit this application. And the application is really comprised of two main parts. The first part are the letters of support, and the second part is more of a formal application, a short formal application. So I'm going to go into these letters of support and what they mean and why we need them. And I think I covered that a bit, in the sense that we need these, whether you're applying for a grant or not, when you're starting this process to start a campus kitchen, we need to make sure that we have, again, that general buy-in and that general support from the various stakeholders, one of which obviously being the student body. And so with that, we want a letter of student support, and what that can look like is, maybe it's just like a few individual students that have committed to working on this project. Maybe it's an existing club, maybe it's an existing class, but having a letter of support from students that's speaking on behalf of the student body, saying that we are committed to bringing this program to our campus, and here is why, and having that and showing again, what type of support they want to give with this program. So we have a lot of different templates and examples of things of how this actually looks, but in general, again, having a letter of student support. Second, having a letter of school support, meaning that sponsoring office that I talked about earlier. So finding who might be that staff sponsor, what office or what department or where that might fall, and then getting us a letter of support from them that shows how they can support the Campus Kitchen. We, again, have some great tools, some feasibility tools that show here's kind of the ideal scenario of what a sponsoring office would be able to provide. What do you feel like you can provide out of these things? So they can go through that with your sponsoring office choices and kind of see what makes the most sense, has the best feasibility here to support this Campus Kitchen, and then being able to submit a letter of support for that. Thirdly, the third letter would be a letter of support from dining, or perhaps wherever the kitchen space that you're using, or both. So having dining show, and again, similar with the sponsoring office, we have a feasibility plan for dining that says, here's really the ideal setup for the logistics of these are the type of storage space that we would need ideally. Here's the amount of prep space we would need ideally. Here's a few other things that really make this partnership really thrive. Let us know if this sounds feasible. And again, we're flexible with, maybe dining says, we can give you food, but we can't let you use our space. So then it's, let's see if we can find an alternative space on campus, whether that be maybe with your office or maybe with a local church or somewhere else. But being able to kind of piece those things together is definitely something we're used to doing and something that's pretty typical. So getting a letter of support from dining. And then kind of the final piece of that first part of the application, of the letter portion, is what we call a letter of intent. That's what that is a document that we give you. It's our affiliate license agreement. It's basically our contract that we sign with every school that that has a campus kitchen, and administration is who is going to be signing this. So what this is, and what this letter of intent really is for, is it allows your administration and sometimes even your school's legal team to view and review and submit any kind of changes or edits they might want to our contract, so that when and if you were to receive one of these grants, if you're chosen as a recipient for this grant, you'd be basically pre-vetted and ready to sign the contract right away. So that's something that's really important, so we can actually be able to give you these funds to start the planning. So this letter of intent is something, again, that we provide you, and it's something that needs to be reviewed by your school administration. It's something that it's a conversation basically that needs to be had, that they can submit, here's some changes that we feel comfortable signing this contract, if, and they can provide some various edits and things that we can have a conversation about. But that is, again, a really important piece to make sure that the Campus Kitchen is really part of the university, and that everyone from the top to the bottom are really aware of what is going on with this program. And we've seen, again, that this just allows for this added strength and added stability and sustainability of the Campus Kitchen. So again, so the first three letters are things that you create, and obviously with our help we have some template guidelines, and then the fourth is something, again, that we provide that you get reviewed and signed by administration. The final piece of this application is a more, I guess, formal application, in the sense that it basically is about 5 short narrative questions to talk a bit more about the need in your community and how that Campus Kitchen is going to address that need. So it isn't a huge, a quote-unquote application. It's just we want to know a little bit more about your community, and that can play into, being selected for this grant. But the main portion here is really getting that foundational support in place that we feel confident that we can provide you with this grant that can then assist in the planning. And that really is the key thing to take away here, is that this grant is not meant to be given to schools that are, it could be, but it's not necessary to be ready to launch your Campus Kitchen tomorrow. This whole point of this grant is really to help with the planning of the Campus Kitchen. And I'll go a little bit more into kind of what the different funds can be used for. But again, this is a perfect grant for a school that says, maybe this is the first time we've heard about Campus Kitchens, but we're definitely interested, and we want to pursue this, and we have general support on campus. Let's really get down to getting through the logistics of getting this on our campus. Okay, so again, we'll really quickly talk about the tools that we provide to help with this process, because we definitely know that you're not being left alone. And in fact, you guys have even more support, because you not only have support from our side with Campus Kitchens, but also great support from ELCA World Hunger. What we have here, we have what we call our Campus Kitchen Planner, which is basically a glorified project management tool in a lot of ways that outlines all the steps that need to be taken to bring your campus kitchen to your campus. Within this, and I'm going to go really quickly, but we can talk about this more individually, of course, it has basically checklists of things that need to be completed, and alongside that also has all of our accompanying resources and documents and forms that we know basically everything you need is your home base for your campus kitchen planning. We've been doing this for so long that we really know exactly what needs to happen and the process through which it needs to take. So this is going to be, again, your home base for you and your students, and your whole team can use this tool because it's individualized for your school as your home base of planning. So again, we can talk a lot more about that if and when need be, but I just wanted to highlight that that is something that is there alongside, obviously, with our ongoing support from myself and ELCA. I know I'm going a little bit probably over my time on this part, but we're almost done with and we're going to talk just really quickly about the actual grant itself. So again, 2 grantees will receive a grant of $5,000 each, and they're payable to you all in various installments. And so we have it broken down here. Upon receiving being chosen for one of these grants, you'll receive a $1,500 installment, and that ideally is to be used to either fund what we call a planning fellow. So you might want to, if there's a key student or students that are going to be leading the rest of this kind of planning process, sometimes we've seen that giving them a bit of an incentive to complete the planner and complete this process is helpful in moving quickly. Some schools don't need this because they might have great staff support and they might have a really strong leadership team of students already really committed. So at that point, this can be used for a variety of other things and not just a planning fellow. Once you've gotten to the point basically where you've almost completed the Campus Kitchen Planner, we'll be able to send you a second installment that's of $800, which is used for supplies and equipment and all those things that you really need to actually run your campus kitchen. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about general costs right after this. And then after that, once you're ready to launch your campus kitchen and get started, you receive this is a $1,200 installment, which some of that is in-kind support, which we will send one of our Campus Kitchen national staff members to come actually do your setup visit. That's where a lot of this training happens. That's where we make sure that everything is running really smoothly and everything's set up for success for you all. And the remainder of that is obviously given to you all for any reason or for any to be used for any way that you guys need. And then once you've launched your Campus Kitchen, you'll receive the final installment of $1,500, which is to be used for just the overall financial stability and continued growth of your Campus Kitchen moving forward. Oops, let me go back. So I do want to talk just really briefly about just an ongoing cost. We realize that this $5,000 grant is not meant to sustain your Campus Kitchen for its entire life. When we assume that your Campus Kitchen will live forever, which that's what we want, and that's what we've seen with our network. We have Campus Kitchens, again, that have been with us since 2001. So there are obvious ongoing costs that happen with the Campus Kitchens, but many of these costs can be very low, especially when you have great partnerships with dining and other folks who are able to share and utilize these assets that are already existing. So most Campus Kitchens' ongoing costs might include various disposables and hard materials like hairnets and gloves and things that you need on an ongoing basis, or perhaps buying a few of your own supplies if you can't share everything with dining services. And that's a conversation that you'll have with dining to kind of see, what can we share of your, pots and pans and hotel pans and things. What can we use and just share, and what do we need to purchase on our own? And majority of the time, Campus Kitchens are able to share quite a bit of those materials with dining, which makes costs very low. Also, there are obvious, other costs in terms of just, it is like running any other club in terms of just kind of administrative costs on your end. But again, with the various partnerships that you will be able to have with, your sponsoring office or with ELCA, there's lots of options to be able to fund that. We should also mention we do have an annual affiliate fee that comes from the Campus Kitchens project, and there's a lot, and I can definitely be more than happy to talk about kind of the value of that and why that's there and what we provide from a national standpoint in terms of support, ongoing support, but also opens up a lot of doors to great national funding partnerships through us and also potentially through ELCA. So there's, I don't want to slide over the fact that yes, there will probably be other costs as you move forward with your campus kitchen over the years, but we have lots of great opportunities that we provide both internally, especially even now with ELCA too, where we'll be able to, and often many campus kitchens also will work with finding funding internally from their school. So they might work with student government, they might work with their development staff, or find other community partners that want to invest in what they do. So it's definitely something that we are always there and have to have ongoing support. Long after you've set up your campus kitchen, you're still very much tied to us in the network and tied to the support that we can offer in a variety of ways. All right, my last little piece before I hand it over, so I'm sure if you are sick of hearing my voice, is just the general compliance requirements of this grant. So if you are chosen as one of the grantees, a few things you need to be able to do. One is sign our campus kitchen contract, which I referenced earlier. That's the exact same content as the letter of intent that you already had. Your administration and legal team, they already reviewed it. They signed the letter of intent, so you're basically pre-vetted to be able to sign that really easily. So that needs to happen. You'll then obviously embark on the adventure of completing the remainder of the campus kitchen planner with your team. And then the only requirement written into the grant is that you launch and start your operations for your campus kitchen by no later than December 1st of 2015. So obviously there's a nice bubble there for you to work out all the logistics and get everything really together before you actually have to start your campus kitchen. Okay. So we're going to now talk a bit more about what we actually look for in an application. You've basically heard and can imagine what we look for. I want to let Ryan and Don talk a bit more about from the ELCA side, but obviously we look for just the strength in all those categories, the strength of student support, the relationship you have with your school administration, the strength of the relationship you have with dining, and obviously the strength and type of partnerships you have with your community and how that really meets that need. So I think I've covered all that to some degree, so I'm not going to spend more time on that, but I think I'm going to actually let me unmute Don and Ryan real quick so they can talk a bit about the kind of what makes a strong application for them from the ELCA standpoint. So I don't know if either of you want to take it away from me now. That'd be great.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, so I think Matt covered some of the things that Campus Kitchens is looking for. As far as what ELCA World Hunger is looking for, as I mentioned at the outset, this partnership is something new for ELCA World Hunger. Previously, our partners have been faith-based, and we still want to keep that as part of our portfolio. And so I think you'll realize the first bullet point there might be a bit confusing, but we have two kinds of campuses that we're offering this opportunity to. First, we have 26 ELCA colleges and universities, 2 of which already have campus kitchens. One you'll hear from later on, Augsburg College, and then Gettysburg. And so the ELCA colleges and universities have institutional affiliation with the ELCA already, and so that makes that opportunity fairly clear. And then we also have Lutheran campus ministries on many more campuses. The campuses themselves might be public or private, as you know, but for the sake of for our portfolio of work, a strong application and an application that meets the criteria would have support from a Lutheran campus ministry or an affiliation with a Lutheran campus ministry on that campus. Mostly so we can continue our work and our partnerships in some ways among faith-based organizations. The other things that we're looking for too, and these are, I think, on the one hand, they're criteria, but on the other hand, they're opportunities as well for campus kitchens that are just starting out. First is a relationship with Lutheran ministries in the community for the distribution of food or other activities. I just was with the folks at Northwestern University, and they said one of the initial challenges when starting a campus kitchen is identifying community partners, and I think that we, as ELCA World Hunger, can really help with that because we have so many ministries that we either support or are currently or have been in the past in relationship with. We have them in all of the 65 synods at the ELCA, and so I think that presents an opportunity for creating some collaboration there and creating a partnership there between the kitchen and the community. But it'll also be part of the criteria of the application, though it's not noted there, but it's not required. So more of an openness to that to continue building into the work of the church. The other thing that we're looking for, although again it's not required as noted on the slide, is a relationship to other anti-hunger efforts currently in place on campus. We recognize that we're coming in as an organization separate from the campus, and our hope really is to lift up what's happening on campus and lift up the student interests and student passions that are happening there. And so rather than come in as something that is in addition to or besides other efforts, we hope that there can be some good collaboration and some good networking with the other anti-hunger efforts, both to increase the support on campus for the campus kitchen and to integrate some of the services that are available among students. So I think those are the things that we're looking for principally in an application. And then, as Matt said, the level of support from other groups on campus to make sure that there's committed students and staff support, and that this is going to be something that we can be in relationship with for the long term. So thanks, Matt.
Yeah, and Don, did you want to add anything to that?
Well, I think Ryan really covered most of those things, but from a Lutheran campus ministry perspective, obviously, for those of you who are from that setting, you know how important it'll be to have the support of the governing body. So, for example, the Lutheran Campus Ministry Board, to make sure that they understand this project. It's a new piece of the ministry, and that they are buying into that as well. I think to the extent that that can happen, that will be very, very helpful, obviously. The other two items on here are the relationships to Lutheran ministries in the community and other groups on campus that are involved in anti-hunger efforts. I think those naturally happen for our sites, Lutheran Campus Ministry sites, with the local congregations and also the relationship that we often have with programs and projects on campus that are focused on anti-hunger. So I think those are natural, and again, while they're not required as a part of this, they obviously go a long way in helping this kind of project be very successful. So I think that's it. Thanks, Matt.
Great. Yeah, definitely. So now I'm going to, again, I think turn it over to Ryan to introduce our first guest speaker.
Thank you, Matt. So as I mentioned, we do have campus kitchens on two of our ELCA college campuses, and one is Augsburg. I had the benefit last year of chatting with some folks who are affiliated with the campus kitchen at Augsburg College in Minneapolis, and hearing about the really diverse anti-hunger programs that they have going on campus and the ways that they relate to each other. And I strongly recommend taking a look at their website. They have a video up and some more information about their campus kitchen. But I'd like to introduce Allison Green, who's the director of the campus kitchen at Augsburg College, to talk a bit more about what the campus kitchen has meant on their campus. So, Allison?
Thanks for having me on the webinar. It's great to be able to talk with all of you. And I should say that I'm relatively new to the campus kitchen and to Augsburg, but just in the last 3 months of working here, I've really gotten a sense of how Augsburg has taken ownership of the campus kitchen as a way that it lives out its mission in the community. So part of the mission of Augsburg is to create informed citizens and thoughtful stewards and critical thinkers and responsible leaders who are engaged in the community, and that's exactly what Campus Kitchen does. So starting 10 years ago when we decided to form this Campus Kitchen, Augsburg really latched onto that idea that this is a way that we can live out this mission in our community. And so you guys can check out the website to see exactly what we're doing. We've got 4 different aspects to our Campus Kitchen. Part of that is the food recovery and serving meals around our community, and that's where it really started. We had these community partnerships that were looking to serve meals, and this was one way that Augsburg saw a way to meet that need. And we also have a community garden and a farmer's market and a student food shelf, and we do as much food education as we can around campus using all of those other programs and all the resources on campus in the community. So our community partners are pretty diverse. One is an after-school program right down the road at our local community center, and we are just one of the partnerships that Augsburg has with this community center. So it's great to be able to be walking around campus and see other students who have done other things with the community center, and to really share that experience of knowing the kids over there that we work with and the staff over there. And it's really a rich partnership, and part of that is because we're sending so many students with Campus Kitchen. And that's really beneficial for us as well, because a lot of those students and the people we serve over there are from the Muslim faith. And so it's a chance for our students who aren't from that tradition to learn about other food traditions from different faiths and from different cultures. And I've heard from lots of students that are just really excited to serve at that community center because it's so different from their experiences in class and growing up. And we get a lot of our students here from service learning courses as well. So if you have a core group of students who are looking to start this, but you're wondering how you're going to keep it going when those students are terribly busy or are moving on, there's lots of ways to get volunteers around campus. So service learning here at Augsburg is one way that students get out into the community to connect what they're learning in the classroom with what's happening in the real world, if you will, around us. So we have partnerships with a couple different classes that make this an option for service learning every semester. And I work with those students to really dig into what the service learning experience means for them in their college courses, in this course in particular, and in thinking about what they're going to do with their rest of their years at school and in life. So how does this really connect with who they want to be and what they want to do in the community? And the other thing I've been really impressed with here at Augsburg is that not just the people here at Augsburg, but the people in the community see this as a ministry. And I've had multiple people say, what a neat opportunity to minister in that capacity you have through Augsburg. And I didn't think about that as I accepted this job, but I've been really privileged to be a part of a school and a community that really values that community connection, and working with food, something so personal and so integral to everybody here on campus and in our community, has been a great opportunity for me to connect and minister with our neighbors. Yeah, and so the website's up there. You guys can see what we're up to, and I'm always happy to learn from other people wanting to make this Campus Kitchen happen and be a resource for you guys as well, especially since I'm new, so I want to hear what you guys are thinking about and wanting to do. So let me know.
Awesome. Thanks, Allison. Yeah, I'll pass along your contact information, maybe a follow-up email, if that's okay with you, to everyone.
For sure.
Wonderful. Don, do you want to maybe introduce
Sure.
Wonderful.
Sure. Tammy Dalvang, Pastor Tammy Dalvang, is the campus pastor at Minnesota State University in Mankato. And what's unique about that setting is that it is housed at Lutheran Campus Ministry in Mankato. The kitchen, huge kitchen, and the facilities there are an ideal place for a campus kitchen. So it's not housed on the campus. Obviously, the university is integrally involved in the program and really operate that program, but it's housed at Lutheran Campus Ministry, and the folks there are involved in the program. And Tammy has been kind enough today to spend a little time to tell us what it's like there and the value of that. So thanks, Tammy, for your time.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you for asking me to share what I've learned with you. The campus kitchen at MSU is a relatively long-standing campus kitchen, and it was started by a group of students with heavy administration support, and support at that time by Sodexo, which is the dining hall company that provides the food. So they started, and at first it was an actual class, and they had a grant that sort of diminished over 3 years. It was, I think, $65,000 to start it, and then I think it was 45 and then 30. 45 the next year, 30 the year after that. But that pretty much paid for staffing and for setting it all up. And they used to have it in a residence hall, and they don't have it there anymore because that hall was decommissioned, and which is another way of saying blown up. And so they ended up having us asking for community partners that would house it, and we're right practically on campus, and so we offered, and they have actually helped us with some things in the kitchen to turn it into a facility that they can use. So they put a sink in there, and they also use their coolers, and they said that the coolers belong to us. So it's just been wonderful to have them there. There have been strong connections made between me personally as a campus pastor and the service learning aspect of MSU, and we've gotten a bunch of students in the building who aren't necessarily looking for a ministry, but who do want to serve. And I think it's really valuable that they see that this is something that Christians do out of our Christian identity. We help serve the community, and we feed people. We've also gotten a lot of international students here. It has really helped to focus our ministry on food issues. We have a $1 lunch that we started, and a lot of the people who work in the campus kitchen have spread the word, and so we get between 60 and 80 students who come who are sort of food insecure, and so that $1 lunch is really helpful for them. We also started a food pantry, and that was with the help of the service learning coordinator, who she just started giving us food and saying, we can't use this, why don't you find a way to give it to students? So we started a student food pantry, and local churches have really stepped forward and been excited about supporting that. And also, we are going to have a community garden at Crossroads. Karen Anderson, who is running the campus kitchen, applied for a grant from Campus Kitchen, I believe, and received it. So I'm really excited about the possibilities that are here and the possibilities that you'll experience too if you work to have a campus kitchen at your school.
Awesome. Thanks, Tammy. I know we're a little bit over time here, but and we're basically done. But I wanted to just, talk before we open it up for questions from anyone. Just want to kind of do next steps with, if you are interested in, A, just learning more about Campus Kitchens, B, applying for this grant, or just learning more about the grant. All the information can be found on the website shown on the screen here, which is just campuskitchens.org/ELCA. And it's the same place where you register for this webinar, where we'll be probably tomorrow changing that button to where you registered to basically getting more information about the grant. So if you submit again, it's very similar in terms of just contact information. We'll be able to send you access to your Campus Kitchen Planner, which is kind of the starting point, but then also all the information about the specifics about the grant, and then obviously we can just try to start that conversation together and be working through all those logistics. So here again is kind of the starting point for this. Obviously, as well, we all want to be here to support you all in any way possible. So myself from the Campus Kitchen side, Ryan from ELCA World Hunger, and Don also from ELCA the Campus Ministries are all here to help in any way possible, whether that be via email or the phone or whatever that may be, to kind of to answer questions initially, and then also just kind of help walk through and this process and make sure that you're getting connected to the right folks and the right partners. And as again, this is my main job is to really work with folks like you to work through it and get this program set up really efficiently and effectively. And then obviously the additional support with Ryan and Don is invaluable in so many ways. So here is our contact information. I will send this out with a recording of this webinar with contact information, our contact information, as well as those Tammy and Allison, in case you do have questions or follow-up questions. I'd be more than happy to help answer any of those. But I did want to also just open up the floor now if anyone had questions. I guess that's the last slide. If anyone had questions currently, I'd be more than happy, or we all be more than happy to answer them now too. I apologize for going a little bit over time, but if you can either I'll unmute everyone. You can either speak those or type them in the chat box. So if anyone has questions, I'd be more than happy to address those now. And if not, again, I'd be more than happy to answer them via email. If you have other questions down the road, if you want to pass this information along to other folks on your campus or within your organization, again, I'll have the recording of this webinar sent out probably tomorrow morning. But yeah, would love to kind of explore this with any of you all who might be interested or intrigued by what we're doing. I think this is a great opportunity to really get this started on any campus, and especially with this great partnership with the ELCA. Ryan or Don, do you have any final remarks you'd like to say?
Well, let me just say that over time, this is Don, that I've discovered in working and talking with Matt that the program has an interesting blend of structure, but also flexibility. And I think that's really helpful in terms of how things might happen for a Lutheran Campus Ministry site, that there are many ways of putting this thing together, and yet at the same time the program offers sufficient structure that people have some direction and some guidelines for knowing how to proceed. So I like that blend, because I do know that in our Lutheran Campus Ministry world, flexibility is a key, especially in our relationship with the university. So anyway, that would be my summary comment, I think.
Great, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you, Don. And I would just add to that that we found, as I mentioned, that we get to witness a lot of different models from our perspective here at the churchwide organization with ELC World Hunger, and this is a model that clearly has a lot of respect and has a lot of good data to demonstrate impact, and so it's one that we fully support, and I think one that I can speak for our entire team with ELC World Hunger, as well as many of our partners on other teams within the churchwide organization, that this is something we're really eager to support, and we're really eager to see work, because we do think that it can be so beneficial to so many different layers of organizations that are in relationship with the ELCA. And so, as Matt said, if you have any questions, just want a conversation partner, or want to talk about hunger more generally and what the ELCA is doing and how we can support what's going on, please feel free to get in touch with us. But we're really excited about this partnership and very eager to see it move forward. So thank you very much for your time.
Great. I think that's it. So again, apologize for going a little over time, but thank you all for being a part of this, and let us know if you have any other follow-up questions moving forward.
Thanks. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks.
Thanks.
And thank you to Allison and Tammy for sharing your experiences and your
Yes.
perspectives from the kitchens that you've been working with. It was really helpful.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
Sure was. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for asking us.
So you're very welcome.